Mysteries of Eleusis. The emergence of the mystery cults in the 6th century BC, the most famous of which were the Elephanian Mysteries of Demeter, represented a fundamental aspect of the transformation of Greek religion. The Elephanian Mysteries, like the Thesmophoria, an autumn agricultural festival that was exclusively for women, celebrated the fertility of grain, in the manner of early fertility rites practiced throughout the ancient Middle East.
Nevertheless, some have sought to attribute their propagation in Greece to a hypothetical, shamanistic tradition, issuing from the north. Joseph Campbell, the noted scholar of comparative religion, believed
the Ions entering Greece, Anatolia, Persia, and the Gangetic Plain circa 1500–1250 BC, brought with them the comparatively primitive mythologies of their patriarchal pantheons, which in creative consort with the earlier mythologies of the universal goddess generated in India the Vedantic, Puranic, Tantric, and Buddhist doctrines, and in Greece those of Homer and Hesiod, Greek tragedy and philosophy, the mysteries, and Greek science. 24. However, rituals similar to those of Eleusis were characteristic of many centers of ancient Eastern Mediterranean civilizations, including islands as far north as Samothrace, as far east as Cyprus, and as far south as Crete. In all of these regions were cults of one or another great goddess of fertility and the harvest, whose worship involved secret rites of purification and initiation. As far back as the 7th century BC, on the west coast of Asia Minor, Greek city-states worshipped the Phrygian goddess Cybele, known as the Magna Mater, which was taken over from the Persian worship of Anahita, Persian Athena, in Cappadocia, now east-central Turkey. According to Diodorus of Sicily, Isis was transferred by the Greeks to Argos, while in their mythology they said that she was Io, who was transformed into a cow, but some think the same deity to be Isis, some Demeter, some Thesmophorus, but others Selene, and others Hera. 25, and Herodotus attributed the introduction of the mysteries of Eleusis to the Danaans.
I propose to hold my tongue about the mysterious rites of Demeter, which the Greeks call Thesmophoria, though I may say, for instance, that it was the daughters of Danaus who brought this ceremony from Egypt and instructed the Pelasgian women in it,
and that after the Dorian conquest of the Peloponnese it was lost. Only the Arcadians, who were not driven from their homes by the invaders, continued the celebration of it. 26. A possible source of the myth of the Elephanian Mysteries may have been reproduced in Homer's hymn to Demeter. Here Hades is said to have come forth from the underworld in his chariot to seize Persephone, the daughter of Demeter and Zeus. Demeter leaves Olympus in search of her daughter, roaming the earth disguising herself as an old woman. By the maiden well in Eleusis, she met the daughters of King Eleus, who offered her the position of nurse to their newly born brother Demophoon. At the palace Demeter nursed Demophoon, who grew like an immortal being. She fed him with ambrosia and, secretly at night, probably as an allusion to child sacrifice, hid him in the midst of the fire without burning him. One night the child's mother Metanera caught Demeter holding the child in the fire, and yelled in horror, thus preventing him from gaining immortality. Demeter returned to her original form, and in her continuing grief, caused a famine that would have destroyed mankind, until Zeus sent Hermes, the messenger of the gods, down to Hades to request Persephone. Hades acquiesced, but through a ploy, deceived Persephone into marrying him. Consequently, Persephone would have to dwell with Hades for a third of the year, becoming goddess of the underworld, coming forth in spring, when she made the earth bloom again and taught her mysteries to the Elephanians. Walter Burkert has pointed to the evident Middle Eastern fertility motifs present in the hymn to Demeter, and according to Pengles, in Greek myths and Mesopotamia. The hymn is outstanding for the striking number and the nature of the parallels with Mesopotamian myths. Indeed, numerous motifs and underlying ideas are not only closely similar but are complex features central to the Mesopotamian myths as they are to the Greek hymn. Just as significantly, they are also found in a specific group of Mesopotamian myths, that is, among the myths of the goddess and consort strand representing the cult of Inanna and her consort Dumuzi, and of Damu, who is identified with him. There are many parallels, especially in the central structural ideas of the journeys carried out by the gods and in the accompanying idea of the power involved in the journey, but there are also striking parallels of motif with similar underlying ideas, so many, in fact, that the conclusion of Mesopotamian influence is, even at first sight, hard to avoid, and on closer inspection, compelling. 27. The word mystery, mysterion in Greek, derives from the Greek verb mystein, to close, referring to the closed secrecy of the rituals, because an initiate was required to keep silent about that which was revealed to him in the private ceremony. The priests in the mysteries were called hierophantes, hierophants, one who shows sacred things. The highest stage of initiation in the Elephanian mysteries is that of apopteia, beholding, and an initiate into the great mysteries was called an apoptes. Beholder. Although there were festivals of Demeter practiced throughout Greece, the true Elephanian mysteries were celebrated at Eleusis only. This was changed when Eleusis was annexed to the Athenian territory about 600 BC. The first hall of initiations for the mysteries of Demeter and Kore was built in the time of the tyrant Pisistratus. Every Athenian was admitted to the Elephanian mysteries, and soon the mysteries were open to every Greek. Because mysteries refer to secret rites and ceremonies, of a meaning and significance known only to the initiated, what occurred at rites practiced at Eleusis generally remains unknown. It is commonly thought that a betrayal of the pledge of silence was the main concern in the case of the Athenian leader Alcibiades during the late 5th century BC.
In Plutarch's Life of Alcibiades, it is said that Alcibiades and his friends were accused of having profaned the Elephanian mysteries in a drunken parody of the ritual.
Several of them mimicked the roles of the officials in the rites, while the rest pretended to be initiates, and were later called to face charges of impiety for both profaning the mysteries and mutilating of the phallic images of Hermes. 28. The mysteries began with the march of the initiates, mystai, in solemn procession from Athens to Eleusis. The rites that they then performed in the telesterion, or hall of initiation, were and remain a secret. It is clear, however, that neophytes were initiated in stages, and that the annual process began with purification rites called the Lesser Mysteries.
The Greater Mysteries at Eleusis was celebrated annually.
It included a ritual bath in the sea, 3 days of fasting, and completion of the still mysterious central rite. These acts completed the initiation, and the initiate was promised benefits in the world to come. A fragment of Pindar, quoted by Clement of Alexandria, elucidates the ultimate significance of the myth of the descent into the underworld dramatically enacted by the initiate. Blessed is one who goes under the earth after seeing these things. That person knows the end of life, and knows its use given beginning. 29.